let's get recording. Okay. Oh, Jesus. Oh, there we go. That'll do, I think. Okay, a couple of thumbnails. Actually, because this book's all those. I'll do. Right, the sales circle. Let's get warm in here today. Okay. In today's episode of the podcast, I'm going to share with you the greatest, probably the best sales book that you could ever get your hands on and read. Hello and welcome to the Sales Circle official. The Sales Circle podcast. The sales podcast that is designed to help you improve your sales. We've been going for ages now. We're in season 2, could you believe? And look, this podcast is designed, it's written, it's produced to help you improve your sales skills. And, you know, whether that be as an entrepreneur, a business owner, a salesperson, whatever it is. We talk about hints, tips, tricks. We talk about mindset, psychologies, stories. We hear from guests, we hear from listeners. With the intention being that you drive into work and you listen to this and it gives you that fire in your belly to go on and get better at your job. Or maybe you're a sales manager and you pass this on. I need to sort out that cable. And you pass this on to your sales team and those around you. My name is Rob Spence, an internationally renowned sales trainer, sales author, sales coach, the author of multiple sales books that are conveniently located behind me. And welcome to today's episode. Now, a couple of things before we get on. Firstly, I was thinking about the podcast early morning this morning, which is sad, isn't it? It's sad, but it goes to show how much work I want to put into this. I'm going to make some small changes very soon into the podcast. We're not going to change the concept. Of course, we're not going to stop talking about sales. And in the grand scheme of things, the majority of what we talk about is going to remain the same. But I think I want to turn it a bit more conversational. I feel like the podcast at times, this is just me, I feel like it feels like me just talking at you, which of course to some degree is what a podcast does. So we are going to look for guests. So of course, if you want to come on as a guest, then do join. But I'm going to just, from now on, just make it a bit more conversational. Instead of me talking at you saying, do this, try that, I'm just going to make it a bit more conversational. So you may pick up on some strong changes and some not so strong changes over the coming weeks and months. But like I said, I just want to bring a bit more value, but make it a bit more conversational, a bit more of an entertainment piece as opposed to just an online training of sorts. But today's episode, we're going to be talking about what I'd consider to be the greatest sales book ever written. Okay, it's one that sits on the shelves of many a salesperson and one that should sit on the shelves of you at your home, in your office, in your study, in your library. For those of you that don't know, I'm a big advocate for learning and reading. You can see these are just sort of one or two of my bookshelves that I have, both here in the office and at home. And every single book that is here, I've digested. So we've got a smaller, sorry, I'm pointing down here, it's off camera. There's a smaller bookcase down there, and then there's another bookcase to my right, and then this large one behind me. I'm a big believer in books. I'm a big believer in the ability to study, to grow our knowledge. And I think that really extends out to salespeople. One of the big things that that motivated me to get into what I do is the fact that anyone can become a salesperson, right? And I'm sure maybe you are listening to this as one of those people. You fell into sales. You were told that you'd got the gift of the gab. You were told that you can make some good money, perhaps. You were told that you knew lots of people. You were told that you knew the product inside and out, whatever it was. And you fall into sales. And for many of us, our training is just mirroring or partnering with our sales director, our sales manager, sometimes our peers. And that's not training, really. If you become a labourer, a plasterer, an electrician, if you become a detailer, if you become a health and safety instructor, you are given training, both at the initial stages and throughout your career. And I want to make that happen for salespeople. I think salespeople deserve better training. Salespeople want better training. And that's why I think books is such a great way for people to learn things. You can learn the stories. Look, what's on my bookshelf? We've got, the autobiographies of some of the greatest entrepreneurs that we've ever had. Love him or hate him, Elon Musk. We've got Jeff Bezos. We've got Alan Sugar, Felix Dennis, Richard Branson, Phil Knight, Steve Jobs. But then we get these stories that we can learn from. But then there's also, you know, the stories of ordinary people. Anyway, I digress massively. So today we're going to be talking about this book here. No, it's not the Bible. It is How to Win Friends and Influence People. A book that has changed the lives of many a business owner, many a business person, many a salesperson. Written by Dale Carnegie over 100 years ago. This book still rings true to today. And actually, one would argue, in my opinion, screams louder now, today, than it ever has. So we're going to explore the book. We're going to talk about the book. And I'll see you in just a second. So for those of you that don't know what this book is, this has gone on to become, you know, one of the, you know, greatest sales and business books ever made. It says it's sold over 16 million copies. And if you ask salespeople, you know, what have they read, what have they studied? Normally they will say, you know, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Written by a great guy called Dale Carnegie over 100 years ago. I'm going to come on to that in a second. I'll read a little bit from the blurb here for you. So it says, the only book you need to lead you to success. In his exuberant conversational style, internationally best-selling author Dale Carnegie offers practical advice and techniques for how to get out of a mental rut and make your life more rewarding. His advice has stood the test of time and will tell you how to make friends quickly and easily, win people over to your way of thinking, improve your conversation skills and become more entertaining, and acquire new clients and customers. How to Win Friends and Influence People has the potential to turn around your relationships and improve your dealings with all of the people in your life. So when we read the blurb, it's quite clearly not focused just on salespeople. There's one little mention there, acquire new clients and customers. Everything else is about building friendships, building relationships, influencing people. And honestly, I love this book. I recommend it. It's a fantastic book. If you don't know, Dale Carnegie was a pioneer of the development of personal business skills, self-confidence and motivational techniques. His work has touched the lives of millions of readers around the world. So I will drop a link to grab your own copy below. But let's explore some of the core principles, right, for those of you that haven't read. I mean, before we do, I guess one question many of you will be asking is, Rob, this book is over 100 years old. Over 100. Does it actually say when it was first published? Okay, so it's not quite 100 years old, nearly 100 years old. So by the looks of things, it was copyrighted in 1936. So, you know, look, 90 years old, we should say. Was it? Am I getting these dates right? What did that say there? Yeah, first published in 1937. So, yeah, look, it goes to show that it is old. But it stands the test of time because actually, Carnegie understood what the majority of salespeople do wrong these days. And something that we're taught from corporate companies at times. And Carnegie turned that on his head. What Carnegie sort of really highlighted was that people don't buy from companies. People buy from people they know, like and trust. We buy on relationships. We buy on personas. We buy on human instinct, on human feeling, on human emotion. And that's why we're going to be doing an episode very soon on what I've come to learn as human-to-human selling. Forget B2B, forget B2C, forget D2C. It's human to human. That's what stands the test of time, right? And the book kind of talks about how we build these relationships. So some of the key principles, the core principles in the book, for those of you that haven't read a copy, and do make sure you do, hit that link below. Number one, don't criticize, condemn, or complain. We all know those negative people, right? That there's always something bad going wrong, that they're always something to moan about. And in a sales element, we know those salespeople or those business owners that are always quick to slag off their competition, right? Behind closed doors, it kind of is. I think it sets a bad precedent and a bad, mental routine. But that being said, we shouldn't bash competitors, especially when dealing with our prospects. We hear it a lot. Oh, we already use ABC company. I'm doing business with Jiminy Johnny Bobbity Poop. I don't know where that name came from. Also, we lose those relationships with those that maybe don't want to buy from us. We should never bash a competitor. Never. It makes you look silly, right? What was it? Thumper in Bambi said, you know, if you've got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all, or words to that effect. Don't quote me. Remember, we are there as salespeople and as business owners to uplift, to enthuse energy, to be positive, to bring some sunshine into a life that's sometimes quite grey. We are there as salespeople to really excite, okay? If we are the negative Nelly, the mood hoover, if we are sucking and draining all this energy, it looks bad upon us. And besides, your prospect once upon a time made a buying decision to buy from your competitor. The second you start slagging off your competitor, the second you start slagging off their decisions, the second you start null and voiding that relationship you have with that individual or that prospect. So just say nice things or just don't say anything at all. Always give honest and sincere appreciation. I'm currently reading, I've not quite finished it yet, it's a book that's doing the rounds, Unreasonable Hospitality, and it's something that is quite nice because I come from a bit of a hospitality background. I used to sell into hospitality, so I had a really good understanding of what goes on behind the scenes, and I'm a big foodie. There's nothing I love more than getting like a 7-course taster menu, 7-course wine flight, and absolutely, you know, going to town, right? The things that always stand out for me in any hotel, in any restaurant, are the small things, and being seen and being valued, being heard. And sometimes that can go as small as just having, you know, a personalised card in the room, just say, you know, handwritten. Hi Rob, thanks for the booking, enjoy your stay, here's what you do if you need anything, right? And just to highlight that fact a little bit more, I was at a talk recently with some of the Leicester Tigers rugby union players. 3 of them, 3 young guys, just breaking out into the first team, great careers ahead of them. And we were talking about hotels, we were talking about hospitality. And a question was asked was, what's the best thing that hotels ever done for you? And the first thing that came to their mind, and you could see the excitement in their faces, it wasn't, you know, the money off, it wasn't, or the free stay, I guess, for them, it wasn't the exquisite dining, it wasn't the incredible drink selection, it wasn't the free Wi-Fi, all that nonsense, right? The thing that really appealed to them in this one hotel was that on all of their doors was a little cardboard cutout of a rugby jersey with their names on them. That's what stood out. And the thing that made them stand out and made them remember that story is because on the back of the shirt, so it's, you know, on the door, was their names. They felt valued, they felt wanted, they felt needed. They've taken those signs home, so there's always a nice touch point. But look, make your clients feel seen, valued and heard. Acknowledge the little things and show that you're paying attention. If you're constantly just chasing the deal, you're going to push away. If you attract the relationship, you actually open that door for further conversation. You've got to arouse in the other person an eager want. Remember, this is something we talk about very often on the podcast. You cannot sell ice to the Eskimos. You cannot force a product or service down someone's throat. But what you can do is build desire, understand pain points, and offer them the solution. Remember, what's the best way to catch a cat? You allow the cat to come to you. If you chase a cat, they'll run away. So it's your job as a salesperson to arouse that interest, understand their pain points, build that desire. Remember to always talk in terms of the other person's interests. Remember, we are told by sales directors, by sales managers, sometimes wrongly, badly by sales trainers, you naughty sales trainers out there, to always say these things. Read my script and you'll sell anything to anyone. Here, these are my 3 keywords you must say, and then you psychologically manipulate your prospect to buy from you, right? Bollocks. I call utter bollocks on that straight away. Customize your pitch and your whole spiel to the person you are selling. You cannot force a square peg into a round hole. Okay, you've got to concisely and very quickly, effectively tailor the pitch to your hero, The prospect. Your product and service isn't the hero. Your prospect is the hero. Make them the hero, not your product. And finally, always be genuinely interested in other people. What am I trying to go with this? I think we are moving into a time where we are told to build relationships. And if you look at any of this automated nonsense that goes out, people try and seek out some form of personal relationship. But it's fake, it's false. And people can smell that miles away. They can smell it more than if not, right? Ask great questions. Do not scrap that. Ask better questions. Share genuine interest. Listen harder. Relationships will win every single time, right? Relationships will. Remember that quote from Jeffrey Gitomer. And please do, editors, for this, make sure we clip this up for social media, right? If you make a sale, you'll make a commission. But if you make a friend, you will make a living. Take that quote with you everywhere you go. And when you step into those boardrooms, when you step into those meeting rooms, think, my primary objective here isn't to make a sale. My primary objective here is to make a friend. So there are 5 of the key things. I'm going to share with you a very, very personal story before we move on to listeners' questions in just a second about how to win friends and influence people. Just before we do go on now, normally in the podcast, we have our book recommendation of the week. And normally, somewhere in the middle of the podcast, we have a cheeky little plug, normally for one of our partners, normally for some of the stuff that we sell. Today's cheeky plug and book recommendation of the week, of course, is How to Win Friends and Influence People. I cannot stress how important this book is to read. Now, I will drop a link in the comments below for you to buy your own copy. I want to share with you a personal story. Okay, I want to share with you why this book means so much to me. When I first sort of, what's the word I'm looking for, really heavily got into sales, I was like every other salesperson, just fell into it. I was told that I knew the product or services well. I was told that I could talk to people. I understood the business, so just sell. Didn't really have any sales training. Of course, I listened to what my colleagues were saying. I had some little pointers and ongoing coaching, but no stringent training. And I kept hearing about this book being joked about. Now, at the time, between you and I, because of personal circumstances, I had very minimal disposable income, right? Very minimal disposable income, to the point where I was cycling to and from work. I would cycle to dates. I would eat, porridge for breakfast and lunch. I was literally, scraping the barrel every single month. And I remember thinking, do I just buy this? Do I just buy this book? And I went on eBay and found an old second-hand copy, which I think I've given away now, which is a shame. It cost me £2 or £3, give or take. And you know what? That book genuinely was the best investment that I've ever made. Genuinely, hand on heart. The weird thing was, at the time, I was a bit worried and I felt so guilty going, I've just spent, I think it was more than £3 actually, because of the post and packaging. So what, £5 or £6? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I remember feeling a bit guilty, thinking I've just spent this money when I could be spending on this, spending on that. And it arrived and I got to work. I got reading it. And this book alone started this. This book started everything that we see here. I'm going to put everything that I have now as a business owner, as a salesperson, down to this book. It got me interested in more books. I understood that every book I read wasn't a cost, it was an investment. That investment now has led me to run a 6-figure business, has allowed me to, grow a team, to sell every day proactively, and to be, in my opinion, a better person, a nicer person. So read this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. There will be a link for you to grab a copy below. And please do let me know what you think to it. As always, we have some listeners' questions to read out. I actively encourage any of you listening to this over on Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, wherever, or if you're watching this on YouTube, if you've got any burning sales questions, if you've got any problems, if you've got any ideas, and you want to have some help, email in. You can email me, thesalescircleofficial@gmail.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very proactive on LinkedIn. Or just find us on social media. The Sales Circle podcast is like on every social media platform, right? If you can't find us, I'd be very, very, very surprised, okay? Just drop us a comment or email in. I've got a first question here from Becky. Becky says, this book is so old. It is. Does it still apply in digital selling? Of course it does, right? Digital is still human, right? This is what I try and talk about to people when they're doing digital marketing, right? Even in the world of AI and automation and everything else, right? Who is the one person that's reading a social media post? It's a human being, right? It's a boy, it's a girl, it's a human entity, right? It's a soul, a human being with a beating heart, right? Of course, some AI will read it for various purposes, right? But the person that's going to be making a decision has a heart, has a soul. And so if you are in sort of digital marketing, which maybe you are potentially, digital selling, okay, you still need to learn how to develop relationships and win friends and influence people, right? Even if you are trying to do social selling, so if you're messaging people on LinkedIn, if you're trying to grow your pipeline, grow your prospect base through LinkedIn, through digital marketing, through emailing, whatever it is, right? The person on the end of those messages are still human. So 100% Becky, don't get me wrong, it's old, right? And even in some of the stories, it does sound quite old and unrelatable to some degree. But what you got to do in your head is just flip that for the modern day. Flip it for the modern day. Daniel from London says, what's one Carnegie rule you apply on every sales call? That's a great question. I own and run a multi-award winning sales and marketing agency. We do a lot to help people grow their sales, right? One of the key things that we offer, and one of our most successful and thriving parts to our business, is our telemarketing, our cold calling, our telesales, right? We still pick up the phone, have engaging conversations. I think before reading the book, and I get this with a lot of people as well, people think selling is talking, right? Selling is telling. That's what they think it is. In some degree, yes, we've got to prescribe the right solutions to the right problem. But the one rule that I learned from this book is just shut the hell up, right? Ask more questions. Just ask. Listen. Of course, you still want to have your say, but just listen. Because we've all walked away from those conversations where you go, oh, bloody hell, they wouldn't shut up, would they? You as a salesperson don't want to become that. But also, if we're asking questions, if we're listening more, we can understand pain points. We can understand how to build a relationship. We can find those touch points of where we build that relationship. So yeah, I think just let the other person do so much of the talking and just learn how to be quiet. If you feel like you are talking too much, you probably are. So take a break, ask a question, allow the person a chance to talk. Layla, I hope I'm saying that right. Layla from Bristol. How do I build likability without sounding fake? Yeah, great question. And I'm sure we touched upon this earlier on in the podcast, right? There is a level of falseness and fakeness when it comes to building relationships and building, rapport with people. I think the key thing, it's like trust, right? You've got to build it, okay? You've got to go in slowly and build up to it, right? People know when something's, automated. People know when something's just put in there for the sake of being put in there, the niceties for the sake of niceties. But make it genuine. Just be kind, be patient, be curious, ask questions, take your time. And once again, this is where people go wrong with digital selling and social selling. People they think they can build a relationship in 2 messages, and then they try and pitch. They go, do you know what I'll do? I'll send a message, and to be clever, I'll still copy and paste it, but I'll put, hi, first name. I saw your recent posts. Love what you're talking about. Would love to sell you my products or services. Fucking hell. That's not how you do it, right? You don't try and sell in the first message, but try and show some genuine contact and communication. So no different to your own personal relationships. It takes time. Just build that up. get to know people, get to like people, build those relationships and go from there. So some great questions today all about the books. Really appreciate you sending those in. As I said earlier, if you've got any other questions, then do email in thesalescircleofficial@gmail.com. And that about wraps us up for another episode of the Sales Circle podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in for so long. As a brief summary, today's episode has been all about this bad boy, right? Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. There is one thing you do this week: buy this book, right? Whether you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, a salesperson, a sales manager, a solopreneur, whether you're a plasterer, whether you are a sealant manufacturer, whether you are whatever, a mobile phone salesman, whatever it is, right? Just buy the book, right? It's cost effective. I've dropped a link for you to grab a copy quite easily below. But I'm sure you can buy a second-hand one from any charity shop or eBay. This book genuinely changed my life. Genuinely changed my life. Reading this was probably one of the best things I've ever done. Purchasing the book was probably the best investment I've ever made. Would I have the podcast now? Would I have my career? Would I have the business without the book? Do you know what? Probably not. I don't know. You never know. It's like sliding doors, right? But I would say go and grab a copy of this book today. That does wrap us up for today's episode of the Sales Circle podcast. As always, just before we disappear, just do me a favour, please, please, please. Drop a follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're getting the audio content. If you've got a YouTube account, just do me a favour, quickly go onto YouTube, find our channel, hit the subscribe button for me. I'm on a road. I want us to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I know we can do it. I know it's possible. We need to hit 1,000. So if you've been watching the podcast, and I see you in our statistics, right? Hit that follow. I think like 90% of the people that view our content aren't subscribed. So stop what you're doing. Hit that subscribe button. Road to 1,000 subs hits on today. Every episode comes out every Thursday without fail. We are compiling a bit of a backlog because later on in the year, I'm vanishing on paternity leave. So I will be here. My editors, my great team behind the scenes. I'll give them a quick shout out. Molly, who is just a Rolls Royce of marketing. Megan, or Magonia the First, as I like to call her. She's been doing a great job in the team as a whole. And of course, Jack, who's been editing as well. Massive shout out to them because we owe a lot of credit to the podcast to them. But they will be still pushing out the content and I'll still be here. But thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, all the best. Lovely jubbly.